From the creators of the original Cheat Sheet Rankings, this is the Fantasy Index Podcast. Brought to you by Fantasy Index, the original and best since 1987. Now your hosts, Luke Wilson and Colt Williams.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Index Podcast, Episode 8, and it's a good one because, Colt, what's in 2 days, buddy?
In 2 days, we've got football.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Wife's leaving town. No, no, I'm kidding with all that part. But it is convenient that she has plans on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I said, could you make it Sunday too? She said no. But she understands what Sunday means to me. Scott Hansen, apparently friend of the show. Hey. I mean, he's using our magazine for his most recent draft. I don't know if you guys seen that, but
heck of a name drop.
But yeah, I know, right?
For him,
but no, yeah, I am very, very excited. I have all but one draft. I have one more draft tomorrow, but basically everything's all set. How are your drafts? Are you all done?
I'm done. So, by the way, Colt Williams, of course, Luke Wilson. We are here for our second to last, actually, episode before the action kicks off on Thursday night. Ravens at Chiefs. Ravens at Chiefs. Yeah. Thursday night, big game. My drafts are done. A lot of the guys in the Fantasy Index Discord are drafting all the way up until Thursday afternoon. I'm like, you're crazy. You're sick. You're sick. You're sick people. No, my last draft was this weekend. You have one more draft, you said?
One more draft, yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about one of our drafts from the weekend real quick, just to give people kind of a baseline of like what is a good draft, what is maybe an iffy draft. I've got one. But first, Colt, what are some of the main news headlines to start off the week heading into the season opener?
Yeah, so a little bit of the news just happening around in the league. I think one of the biggest ones, Trent Williams, he agreed to an extension. So that's obviously great for Brock Purdy, great for CMC, great for the 49ers overall in general. One of the best players in football overall, just a beast of a man. So, yeah, him agreeing to an extension is huge. Jamar Chase, he still has not signed any kind of contract or anything like that. Like, where is your worry meter for week one versus the Patriots? This is a game that should be – I don't know the line just yet. I'll check it out here in just a moment. But I have to imagine they're at least a touchdown favorite in this game.
Might creep towards 6.5 with if Chase is not going to go. Yeah, what a contrast, right? Like the Niners, who obviously are fully invested. They are going for it. They want the rematch with the Chiefs or whoever wins the AFC, and right in the 11th hour, it goes from borderline panic mode. Oh my gosh, we can't get Ayuk and Trent Williams in the building. What are we doing? Nope, just kidding. Everything's fine. Everybody's here now. We're good to go. Juxtapose that with the Bengals, who, are they Super Bowl favorites? No, probably not. Are they in the picture? Absolutely. And it's their last year with Higgins. There's a scenario where this is the window. This is it right here. And Chase are going to go all the way to the wire, if not further. It's just not how business is supposed to be done when you're a serious NFL team. And I say that as a Cowboys fan who is, beyond disgusted with a situation that was allowed to play out with Lamb and now is playing out with Dak, but that's another whole other thing. So anyway, worry level for Chase. I mean, for week one, in terms of the Bengals winning the game, I mean, if this game is close with or without Chase, Bengals got problems. And I mean, the Bengals are notoriously slow starters. They shouldn't be this time because Burrow was healthy all offseason. So, okay, good. Then don't make this be a close game, regardless of whether Chase is there. Because who do they have week 2, Colt?
Well, they're 8.5 favorites against the Patriots. So yes, they certainly should win that game. And yeah, they should be. Yes, definitely with Jacoby Brissett getting sacrificed. I looked at the whole Patriots schedule, the whole first 6 weeks, awful matchups. But week 2, the Bengals have the Chiefs on the road. So
thank you, NFL.
And I just put this tweet out. Feel free to check it out at _Colt Williams. You can find Luke at D Luke 87, but I just put this out. Jamar Chase, if they lose to the Patriots in week 1, like he is rubbing his hands like Mr. Burns, just so excited for the amount of money. He's going to be like that Donald Duck gif where he's just diving into the diving into the thing of money. Like that's going to be him. But is there a chance he sets week 1? Absolutely. I'm not terribly worried about it. We're recording this here, on Tuesday night. Right. We don't have a lot of time. We have until Sunday, but I think he gets a deal done. If he doesn't, I'm not terribly worried about week 1. I think he'll be there by week 2 in that event, whether win or lose. I think losing obviously helps his case, but win or lose, I think he'll be there on the field.
Yeah, I mean with the current CBA, like player holdouts have become an issue going into the last CBA back in 2020. The 2020 CBA made it very punitive for players to miss games. Like, it is going to cost Jamar Chase a lot of money if he is not in uniform for this game for any reason other than injury. So my gut is that, either a deal gets done Friday, Saturday, like 11th and a half hour, or he just says, all right, to heck with it, shows up, isn't, strictly in-game shape, snap count, it's kind of iffy for all parties involved. But he's on the field, so that's my gut. The Bengals better win this game. if they go into the Arrowhead 0-1, having just lost to the Patriots, boy.
Yeah,
Zach Taylor better contact a realtor. Is all I can say.
You really should. Hey, call up the wife and kids. Say, hey, we gotta start looking.
Yeah,
and we're big advocates for players and getting paid and everything like that. So
sure.
we're not upset at Chase, even though he's rostered in 100% of leagues. But speaking of rostered 100% of leagues, tell me about one of your recent drafts.
Right.
You said you've got one here. Give us a little bit of lay of the land. How many players are in it? The scoring format, and I'm gonna rate your team here live. Ooh. You haven't told me what you did.
I have not.
And I'll tell you how I think you did, or what you'll place. Is this a playoff team or is this not? Looking at it with my crystal ball preseason.
Fair. So I'll admit, I have a fantasy football podcast, or I'm on one, so I may have gone into this with maybe just a little bit of hubris, a little bit of presuming that things would go a particular way, and I'm not sure they did. You tell me. Okay, so it's a Yahoo 12-team league, super flex. So you start one quarterback, and you sure as heck better start another one.
Yeah.
Two super flex, basically 2 quarterback. Start 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flex, tight end. Full PPR, no tight end premium. Okay. So here's my team. Jordan Love, Anthony Richardson.
Love it.
Strong. I mean, those are my first 2 picks. Will Levis on the bench. I reached, because I got Anthony Richardson. I want to have a solid backstop. It's full PPR. Drake London, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Rashee Rice, Kyle Pitts, and then on the bench, I got Brandon Cooks, Adonai Mitchell, Rashod Bateman, whatever. So, again, full PPR, Adams, London, Rice, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Kyle Pitts, I'm cautiously optimistic. I missed out on, less anxiety-inducing tight ends. But obviously, this is building toward a particular...
What do these running backs look like?
Okay.
Yeah, because that roster sounds pretty good so far.
All right, so, and just for, I'm just going to lay it out there. There's a team in this league that got CMC, Achane, Josh Jacobs at running back, okay?
Oh.
And now the quarterbacks are rough. But, yeah, so that's the high bar for running backs in the league. Okay, my running backs are Chase Brown, Austin Eckler, full PPR.
Okay. Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard, who I am flexing in week 1.
Okay.
And Jaleel McLaughlin, who, no Samaje P. Ryan. Javonte Williams, is he good? Is he not? We don't. Good question.
Yeah.
Jaleel McLaughlin could catch 50 balls. That would not surprise me in the slightest, and clearly I very much need him to do exactly that. So, and then I got TJ Hawkinson as a IR stash. But if I need him, that's not good. So that's where I'm at. Again, it's full PPR. There are some real rough teams in this league. I was a little too cocksure, a little too cocky going in. What do you think, Colt? Knowing me, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna give that an A-.
Wow.
I think it's great. I actually love the team. The makeup of it is great.
Well, hold on. It's a very fantasy Twitter talking head type of team. Like lots of zero RBers are going to love that team before the season.
Are going to love that, knowing Chase Brown is your RB1 basically. So one, if he hits like that's what's going to put you over the top. But even if he doesn't hit, he's going to have a role in this offense. Chuba Hubbard, he's going to have the starting job at least for the first 4 weeks. And we saw him last season on what was the worst offense in all of football, and one of the worst offenses we've seen in the past few years.
Exactly.
And he was productive there. So
very.
Austin Eckler, does he still have, I know you're very much in the Austin Eckler camp, but does he have some, you don't need a lot in full PPR from running backs. Like they don't need a timeshare. Like Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't know his splits, but he was catching a ton of balls. Samaje Perine gone. Sean Payton has always had a running back target obsession. Like they get a lot of targets there.
Bo Nix comes in, that can only help.
Yeah, it can only help. So I think it's a very good team, and you know what you need off the waiver wire,
right?
Very first week, and we're talking about a lot of guys here, waiver wire pickups. So like you stash one of these guys at the end of your bench if you don't already have. I mean, you have McLaughlin, which we're going to be talking about him later today. I actually really like it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad. I'll step off the ledge. Again, like I said, I'm supposed to be this hotshot expert, and I leave a draft with Chase Brown as my RB1. I had a little bit of an identity crisis in the mirror after that meme where the guy's talking aggressively to himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
You will not take Kyle Pitts again in fantasy this year, and then I did it. So.
And then you did it, but. Like I said, I think it's a solid team. I think it's a solid team. You don't need much at running back and full PPR. The wide receivers and every other position you have there is going to keep you afloat. So my team here, I've got so let me lay the land.
Mm-hmm.
One quarterback, full PPR.
Yep.
It is a traditional kind of setup. It's one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 3 flex, and a defense.
Ooh. Goes deep.
Pretty small benches though, five bench and an IR. So I have a quarterback. I've got Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. I've got a running back. I've got Kyron Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, Blake Corum, Rico Dowdle, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, your man.
Mm-hmm.
So I am also in rooting interest for Chase Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I've got at running back. Jonathan Brooks, I've got him on the IR, which. Again, we're going to be talking about these tips here, but if you have any player that is IR eligible, throw them on your IR immediately and just pick up another player, especially one of the names we're going to be naming here today, because if they break out, it's just an extra – you're getting a free waiver claim prior to the game's playing. So, go ahead and at least fill that up. If you got Nick Chubb or TJ Hawkinson or Jonathan Brooks or anybody else who's on IR, that's worth stashing on there. At wide receivers, this is really the cream of the crop of what makes my team. Full PPR again. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, Rashee Rice. At tight end, I've got Trey McBride. And then at defense, I've got the Bengals playing the Patriots in week 1. And I've got Jaden Reed on the bench. Yeah. I loaded up my bench with a lot of running backs.
Similar, brother Seamus with the team that I see why you're like, oh no, your running backs are fine.
yeah. Well, I have Kyron. He's the one who's supposed to keep me afloat, and then I just hope any of them will be as good as Ramondre. Ramondre caught a lot of balls in previous years. I think like 69 in one year. Nice, but Jalen Warren. I mean, what was he last year? I mean, he was the running back 22 in PPR. Like that's
yeah. I mean, he should
you don't
catch
need a lot.
50. Did Arthur Smith learn any new tricks while he was away? He could catch 50. He could. He definitely could.
Yes, he could.
No, I mean, when those are your receivers, like all you need is kind of like you said, you just need the running backs to show up, be upright, give you 8 points most weeks. Everything else is going to take care of itself. Yeah, that team's going places. You should be just fine there, Colty. All right.
Pat myself on the back.
Like both of us, like a lot of other people that have succumbed to the 0/hero running back trends in fantasy, we're going into week 1 looking for some running backs. So let's talk about the guys whose names we are pre-circling, or like you were just suggesting, go ahead and stash them now if you can somehow fit them somewhere on your bench. Who are the guys that we should be keeping, put on our watch list, top decking coming out of week 1 or even before week 1 that didn't get drafted, possibly?
Yeah, so again, we're just trying to beat the curve. Sure. A lot of these players' names we're going to be mentioning are going to be after pick 170. Figured that's right about the range. Every league is different. Not all these guys are going to be available, but that's about the range where people should be available for the most part. We're going to name off a few just here real quick, just a quick list of they're probably drafted, but double check your waivers, double check everything like that to see if they aren't, because they are certainly worth a smashing grab here right now. But Rico Dowdle, Joshua Palmer, Jalen Wright, Jaleel McLaughlin, and I even put in a PPR league. I think it's, like I said, I think he's super value. Dontavian Wicks, Brandon Cooks, Marshawn Lloyd, Mike Williams, Raheed Shaheed, Adonai Mitchell, and Xavier Leggett. Those are some that are probably drafted. It just depends. But that draft I just was talking about, I got Rico Dowdle off waivers after the draft. It's a 10-team league. So, yeah, it's a smaller bench. So it kind of worked out.
If you had to pick 3 from that cluster that you just recited, from Dowdle down to Leggett, had to pick 3 players that your gut just tells you these are the guys that could potentially play their way into being like an every week starter, or maybe even, I hate to say throw league winner around, but league effector, let's say. Who are your 3 there? Because I know who mine are.
I would definitely add, and this I have so much exposure to him, Dontavian Wicks. Mm-hmm. I've got he's been somebody I've drafted in almost every single one of my leagues. Is like Jaden Reed I got in that last draft. I have almost no exposure to him. Same with like Joe Burrow and Trey McBride. They just kept sliding. But Dontavian Wicks is a guy who showed off last season. Closer to the end of the season, and just had some explosive games. He is in, who is the wide receiver 1 there? It projects to be Reed. It projects to be Christian Watson. But, Christian Watson hasn't always been healthy. Reed, they're kind of like manufacturing targets for him. That's why he had some rushing touchdowns too. So, good players get on the field. Dontavian Wicks is a good player. And so I've just been taking that shot in the event that he can be one of the lead wide receivers for the Green Bay Packers, which is one of the best offenses in the league. So Dontavian Wicks is definitely on the list for me. I've got to say Rico Dowdle, Cowboys lead running back right now, and Jalen Wright. I've had him a lot of drafts as well. I think it was, Dolphins head coach just recently came out and said, like, we're going to use our guys. Whoever's having the hot hand that's who we're going to ride, which as an H-hand owner who's had a lot of H-hand in a lot of drafts, and it kind of scares me a little bit, but I know his upside is still there. I'm not worried. The panic meter has not been hit. We're not at DEFCON 1 or anything like that. But Jalen Wright is somebody who I liked the film, what I saw in college. He did a little bit in preseason to show me some flashes, for sure. And somebody who's I've rostered a lot. What about your 3?
Yeah, that quote from McDaniel about whoever our best running back is going to play the most. Then yeah. I saw Ian Hartitz or somebody tweeted like, this is objectively good news for whichever Dolphins running back you're biased towards.
yeah,
exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dowdle. I've got some I'm a Cowboys fan, so reluctantly. So I'm always thinking about the ledge if I'm not strictly standing on it when it comes to the team. But I'm a little paranoid about the state of the Cowboys overall, but objectively, the offensive line is still good. Could be great. Again, they bring in Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma as a rookie, human road grader. Tyler Smith, chronic issues getting called for holding aside, looked like he should be a guy. So the offensive line looks like it should be fine. Dak will show up at some point. He'll be out there week 1. He's not going to be terribly happy about it, but he'll be out there. Dowdle could easily be the best running back in the backfield. We're talking about Zeke and Dalvin Cook, combined like 4,200 NFL carries at this point. Like a lot of tread run off those tires. Dowdle is a big, physical, versatile guy. I mean, he looks totally natural and comfortable catching the ball, swinging out of the backfield. 5'11", 215. I mean, he's not Bijan Robinson, but he's kind of ruddy in a similar way. I could see Dowdle having 1,200 yards out of this. I mean, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. Zeke is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
but
that's ceiling.
It's certainly possible. So yeah, Dowdle for me.
I got a question on Dowdle just real quick.
Sure.
What's his floor? Like, I'm just curious. Like, Zeke isn't going to take everything, but he's been great around the goal line. He showed my Patriots that he has the pass catching chops, leading them in receptions for the team. So, it takes away a little bit of those roles. He's younger, obviously.
This is getting. you probably were expecting like, okay, he's going to say A or B. I'm going to go straight to J on this. As a Cowboys fan, I'm here in Dallas. I have observed there is a little bit behind the scenes of a personnel friction, war of attrition between the front office, the Joneses, and Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy is he's a lame duck. He has no contract beyond this year. He probably knows if they don't win 2 playoff games, he's not going to be back. I'm getting the sense that he's going to go out playing his guys. And Rico Dowdle is a Mike McCarthy guy, period. He's telling us he's pulling him off special teams. Stephen Jones says, hey, I like this Royce Freeman. What does Mike McCarthy do? He kicks Royce Freeman out. He says, you're out. You're gone.
Yeah.
Rico Dowdle has a real shot here to be an RB2 in fantasy this year. It's real, okay? And when the head coach wants that to happen for you, that's a good thing. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Dowdle. I missed him in a few leagues. I was able to get him in one, so at least there was that. But yeah, big fan on Dowdle. Jalen Wright, I mean, the case makes itself. You're talking about, you buy one of 3 Porsches. Hey, maybe you get the one that doesn't have a check engine light on. I mean, that's
which one are you
taking
out today?
You go to the Porsche dealership. That if you're in the Porsche dealership, things are probably going okay. So that's the argument with Jalen Wright. Julian McLaughlin, similar argument to Dowdle. The Broncos offense can will a running back into fantasy relevance. And that's been true for a long time, back to the Mike Shanahan days. But Sean Payton can do that. Julian McLaughlin has the skill set to potentially do that. And it's just Javonte Williams in the way, who a lot of people say, hey, don't pick on Javonte. He was coming off of that horrible knee injury in 2023. It's not his fault that he looked awful. Fair. That could prove to be true. It is equally possible that we will find out in the next 6 weeks that Javonte Williams is cooked. That's squarely on the radar here, okay? Jaleel McLaughlin is an RB2 minimum if that's the case. In this, there's nobody else. There's nobody else. Javonte is not going to just get released probably. But the upside there relative to the cost for both those guys is extremely strong, extremely compelling. I have to go Dowdle and McLaughlin there. I like Wright, and he should be one of my guys here. He should, because running backs, cheap running backs make the world go round. I'm not just going to assume that bad things happen to Mostert or Achane. That's a little too. You certainly want to roster him if you can. Sure, he's actually not that cheap, considering that he is solidly the running back 3 as far as we can tell right now. I'm going to go with Rashid Shaheed as my number 3. I know you're not surprised. I have to believe. Okay,
he's Derek Carr's wide receiver too.
He's one of my most rostered players this year. Okay, I have him. If I have 12 teams, he's on 11. Okay,
yeah.
I need it. I need it to happen. But zoom out for a second. Never mind the fact that it didn't really happen last year. Rashid Shaheed is one of the fastest men in the league. It certainly is in terms of guys that are going to touch the football frequently. Huge yards after catch ability. He's an ace return man. He's going to be the primary kick returner as far as we know. And now Clint Kubiak, who is a Shanahan yards after catch merchant, comes to town. And shortly thereafter, the Saints, with Shaheed going into a contract year, with the Saints being $80 million over the cap for 2025 right now today. So the Saints know they're hurting for 2025. They know they're going to have to release Alvin Kamara just to have a hope of getting back to even with the house. They pay Shaheed $5 million anyway when he's already under contract through 2024 out of fear that he's going to play himself into a bigger payday in the spring. That's what I'm telling myself with the Rashid Shaheed narrative is like, there's a lot of opportunity here. The Saints clearly like him. Had a strong camp, can do all the cool stuff. I got to go Shaheed.
And Derek Carr likes him too. If you watched any of the mic'd up last season, it was like, hey, I'm on the sideline. Hey, how do we get this go ball to Shaheed? It's not Olave. He was like, Olave is the number 1, yes. But Shaheed is like, he's certainly like, hey, how do I work this with him? So yeah, they had a connection. They're
Carr doesn't really need to gas up Olave because he's Chris Olave, but yeah, and Carr's like gassing up like the backup long snapper too sometimes too.
Right.
So, yeah.
And again, all those people are probably drafted. You need to check your rosters. Those we both had, Rico Dowdle in ours. So yeah, he's a volume play, much like Rashad White last year. Like, he doesn't have the pass catching chops, or at least he hasn't shown it. He doesn't profile as that.
Who is
but
that?
Rico Dowdle is just if nothing else, he's a volume play on a good offense. Like, that's what you would want for fantasy. So, yeah, I think that's a good pick there. Let's go off some other names that are most likely undrafted, just depending on your league format and bench size and everything like that. But Deshaun Watson.
I hate the very first one, but sure, let's do it.
Deshaun Watson is a guy I wanted to mention. He was a quarterback 1 in his small 1 to 3 week window and his weeks 9 to 10 window. He was the quarterback, 9. So is he as good as he once was? No, much like Toby Keith. But he will have valuable weeks there in fantasy. You're not sold. Again, this is why he's undrafted. Like, you can make a case for and against all these guys. If you watch the games, you're gonna be like, wow, this guy is this Uncle Rico out there, just in a Browns uniform. No, it's Deshaun Watson, professional quarterback who drafted. It's not a good visual, but if you want fantasy points, I think he can provide you with those.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, certainly in any normal one quarterback league, if you need to consider Deshaun Watson now, you are in a world of hurt. Something went disastrous. But whatever, if you're in a situation where you're forced to consider Deshaun Watson, yes. If he's playing at all, there's an implied floor here. There's an implied floor of like, well, certainly he can't be worse than like the quarterback 20, which is bad. I mean, that's terrible in most leagues, but it's better than 0. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Even if he can't throw the ball at all anymore, which he really may not be able to, he led the league in off-target incompletions in 2023. I'm very confident he'll do that again in 2024.
Yeah.
The receivers are so good. The Browns' offensive line is solid. It did take a step back under Watson, which, again, the knock on Watson. But, I mean, this is a team that was in the playoffs with Joe Flacco last year. He can run. If he plays 17 games, he should run for 6 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a variant of like the Justin Fields argument last year, right? Which is like, well, he can only be so bad if he's in the game, period.
Yeah.
So
Justin Fields is a great example there. We've got Bo Nix and Will Levis on it. Tell me a little bit about Will Levis, because I know you've been pounding the table for him. Bo Nix is a guy, again, we're talking about, it depends on your league format and everything, but just Bo Nix coming in, named the starter here late in the preseason. He was the most accurate quarterback in all of college football. He played about 17 years of college football, and he has more games played under his belt than Anthony Richardson, who's been in the league for a year. Like, just to kind of put it in perspective, like he's Sean Payton's Drew Brees. Is that kind of what we're looking at there? Like,
Bo Nix is the only rookie to ever come into the NFL already with a sponsorship deal, paid spokesman for Centrum Silver. Which him and Brandon Weeden. You might not really know Brandon Weeden. Okay, We're being a little mean now. So the argument with Nix, I mean, how bad can a quarterback that Sean Payton actually likes be? Which Sean Payton would eat in his car before he would have sat next to Russell Wilson in the team cafeteria last year. That's a fact. That's in Sean Payton's Twitter bio. So Sean Payton does not have a Twitter, but so this is a quarterback that Sean Payton clearly wanted. I mean, he tried to hem and haw. We're gonna have a battle, and we like all our guys. Yeah, whatever, Sean. Bo Nix is the guy. Very accurate. He should run for 4 or 5 touchdowns. There's a legitimate rushing floor with Bo Nix I don't know about the touchdowns, but he'll run around. He'll add like 400 yards as a rusher for sure. For sure. Will Levis. Okay, Will Levis, there's a lot to like, there's a lot to dislike, for sure. Huge arm, can throw it to the moon, can throw it out of the stadium. Remember those was it Nike or Reebok commercials back in the day where Michael Vick would throw the football out of the stadium and everyone, is it fake? Yes, guys, it's fake.
No, he did it.
Yeah, Michael Vick threw football 140 yards, guys. Yeah, you got it. So anyway, he's huge arm, he's, plus mobility. He also had a lot of turnover-worthy throws last year. So you can look at his numbers two different ways for sure. The Titans love Will Levis, and he has all the physical tools to outplay his flaws, his limitations in fantasy in particular. Like, might he throw 14 interceptions? Sure, but if he also throws for 28 touchdowns as the quarterback 26, that's pretty good. So I don't know why they didn't let Will Levis run last year, but he's every bit the runner that Bo Nix is, if not better. He can add real points that way. And also, not for nothing, Will Levis is crazy. Okay, I mean, I don't know how much that matters to you guys. It matters to me. If a guy's crazy, I kind of like it.
Yeah, so Bo Nix and Will Levis are guys who, if I'm in a super flex league, like I would be really confident or excited if I have them as my quarterback 3. Deshaun Watson, I have him in a higher tier. I have him. If I had him a quarterback 2, I'd be really excited. I know that he won't lose me the week, but he's not going to win it for me either. I just feel like he's pretty safe there. But Will Levis, exactly. You're talking about his rushing, like coming out of Kentucky. You're like, oh yeah, this guy can really run the ball. He has no pocket awareness, but he can run the ball. And they just really didn't. I don't think he had a game over 25 yards last season. So as a mobile quarterback who can be mobile, much like Michael Penix, right? Where we saw his 40 time and it's like, man, he's so fast. And they just never let him run there at Washington.
I mean, to be fair, 2 college ACL tears will make anyone a little more skittish about taking off. Yeah. Levis ran a bit at Kentucky, and he actually he did run a couple times last year, but it was not something that the Vrabel Titans had any interest in seeing him do. Certainly, we're hoping that Callahan and Nick Holtz, the new offensive coordinator for the Titans, are more open to that modern way of playing football. That would seem to be the reason that you get rid of Mike Vrabel in the first place. So fingers crossed there. All right, who do we got next? Colt, are we done with the quarterbacks? I think we are.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, we got Kamani Vidal. He's a fun prospect for the Chargers. He's out of Troy. He's an older player. They brought in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. He could carve out a role as a pass-catching back. I mean, Gus Edwards, he has a career high last year, 12 receptions. And then J.K. Dobbins, he comes in with a career high of 18 receptions in one of his basically his only full season. So 320 vacated targets between Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and Gerald Everett. 320 vacated targets is huge. We've already seen, not necessarily with this system. I know they want to run the ball, but that's going to come a little bit through the air too, to the running back. So he has the size of a 3-down back. He's shown flashes, and, injury ahead of him happens, which those guys haven't been, what's the opposite of injury prone? Like they've been injured pretty frequently and pretty often. So yeah, if one of those were to happen, Kamani Vidal would be, at the top of some people's list. Jalen Polk, if you're looking for a wide receiver 1 on a team, he profiles to be the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. It's not a great offense, not great quarterback play, but that doesn't always matter. If you just want to get points, it might be just a dink and dunk. And are you in the camp of Jalen Polk or Demario Douglas? Because I saw you have Demario Douglas here, but I also put a note that he had 1 double-digit game in half PPR all season. So, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, I'd rather re-roll the dice with either one of those guys.
So I'm not, and Kamani Vidal, the Edwards and Dobbins pass catching totals with the Ravens. They also had Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. So the fact that there was no pass game involvement for the running backs there, is that on the running backs or Lamar or Greg Roman, who was the offensive coordinator most of the way there? You be the judge. I think it's going to be Dobbins and Edwards until one of them gets hurt, and then Vidal might get a shot. So
Do you have Dobbins at the top?
No, I want Edwards. They signed Edwards first. They brought in Dobbins later. They paid Edwards more, and Edwards stayed more healthy. Harbaugh wants to beat teams up. Edwards is the guy for that. So they're certainly. I think their hope is that he does play 15 games for him, but they're not banking on it. They know what they're going to do to him. So, Kamani Vidal. There's guys that are rostering him out of the draft. I'm not, honestly, because the nature of fantasy is somebody is going to carry him out of the draft, realize, get sick after 3-4 weeks of him doing nothing and say, I'm going to dump him.
Yeah.
I'm going to borrow that guy's roster spot basically and bet that he's going to drop Vidal to me later on. So Jalen Polk, the Patriots receiver core, we have no idea at all what's going to happen. Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, they had the shine on them over the summer, even early in training camp. Kind of fell off. They kind of the buzz died down for both of them, Baker especially. Demario Douglas is the closest thing to like a returning solid player that they have. He is a Belichick era holdover though, so there's that. Like, do they like even the optics of Douglas running away with the target share there? And then Tyquan Thornton and Kayshon Boutte are still around. So like, I said it in an article on the website. You just need to put in a claim on whoever has the biggest game in week 1, period. Because one of these guys is going to get 8 targets. One of them is. One of them's going to get 8 targets. That's the guy you want. I mean, it's that simple. Douglas, he's probably nobody. Honestly, like a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, Demario Douglas, easy money, wide receiver 4. No, guy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But I'm not. He's got the right athletic profile for the day as a guy who could, if everything breaks just right, catch 75 balls. I'm not sure the Patriots are going to be that bad. I'm really not.
Defensively, they're still intact, but even with the wide receiver core, it's like even if one has those 8 targets in week 1 and it's Jalen Polk or Demario Douglas or whoever it is, maybe it comes out as Boutte. When does Jacoby Brissett lose the job? He's going to lose the job this season. When does he lose it? And does Drake May find that receiver just as favorable? So that's a little bit of hesitation for them. But
schedule
again,
lets up in week 8. That's probably when Brissett loses the job.
Yeah. Like I said, the first 6 weeks are just god awful.
Yeah, they did him no favors. All right, so yeah, Polk fine. I just got to be honest. I got no read at all here on who is going into week 1 with even a little bit of a lead. Mm-hmm. Tyquan Thornton can come out and catch 6 balls this weekend. It honestly wouldn't surprise me. If not,
that might be a season high for him, and like the whole
sure.
Yeah, he's. My rating as a Patriots fan has been Polk.
Okay. That's fair. That's legit.
They reached up for him there in the draft,
True.
and he went higher than I expected. I think he went. I'd have to double check, but maybe before Adonai Mitchell. I know he was kind of sliding in the draft. He was projected to be a first rounder, and then he slid. But nevertheless, it's a bad offense. Even if everything goes well, it's going to be an average offense. And so, yeah, maybe not investing too terribly much in that, but a good offense that I would love to invest in this next guy.
Sell us on Jordan Mason.
It's going to be really easy. Christian McCaffrey currently kind of banged up, but everything's, he's trending to play here for week 1. Yeah, when is he not? When he's out there, he's the best player in football. But, Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell, he's out of here. Season-ending IR. If let's say a season-ending injury happened to any one of these players we've talked about so far or are going to talk about, the one in front of them, let's say this one would be Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason would be the waiver wire pickup of the entire year. You're going to get him for the whole year. He's shown flashes in like the games last year when Christian McCaffrey had less than, all of the allotment of snaps. It was either him or Elijah Mitchell, who just any 49ers running back has shown flashes when Christian McCaffrey has been out or hasn't got the full allotment of carries because they're either, beating the team by a lot or whatnot. But he is by far the person I would dump all of my fab, all of my waiver priority for. But I would try to avoid that just by having him on the end of my roster. Again, your roster may not permit it, but if you're holding on to somebody like he's your 6th wide receiver and it's Tyler Lockett, maybe I drop Tyler Lockett because I know his ceiling is capped and he's just or somebody in that same caliber. I don't have a ton of names in front of me, but that's where I would kind of be. It's a weird area, but Jordan Mason is a guy who, if an injury were to happen, would catapult to a low-end wide receiver or low-end running back 2, if anything.
What would you say are the odds? Just a little quick devil's advocate here. What would you say are the odds that, God forbid, of course, we're not rooting for any of we own CMC stock too, folks. We're not rooting for. We're just being real here. Things can happen. It comes down the wire. CMC. Oh gosh, we're not going to see him for a while. What are the odds that you fab dump on Jordan Mason, as you should, as is the responsible, decision to make, and then Matt Breida gets 18 touches the very first game for the 49ers? What would you say are the odds that could happen?
I would be pretty upset. But the thing about Jordan Mason is, even if Christian McCaffrey misses one game,
Matt Breida is on the 49ers again, by the way.
I feel like he's cemented himself as the running back too. Pretty confident with saying that. So it's not like it's a committee. Like, let's say, you have a rookie running back like Trey Benson, who's being drafted everywhere, and James Conner were to go down. Like does Amari DiMercado get some of the carries? Like, I don't think they're going to give the whole thing to Trey Benson in that situation there. So
100%.
Yeah, so this is a veteran back who has shown flashes, has kind of solidified himself as the running back 2. It was Elijah Mitchell, but he's once again gone right now for the season. So yeah, that's a player who I would be holding on to in the event that happens, whether I have Christian McCaffrey or not.
Yeah, Mason is definitely intriguing in deep leagues or deep benches where you can tuck him away somewhere. But I can't let go of my previous Shanahan trauma pre-CMC because the workloads that CMC has received since he was traded there in 2022. Yeah. Oh, how quickly it makes us forget, right? Like, oh, Shanahan's all better now. He's over those mental episodes he suffered from before, and now he sees the light. He wants to help my fantasy team now. Yeah. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's got CMC. That's all that is. That's all it is. He's got CMC. He's got the best running back in the league, and that's all it is. If CMC goes down, I'm gonna go after 49ers running backs relentlessly, but I'm not gonna assume it's gonna be Jordan Mason wire to wire. Absolutely not. He's the first next. He's the first next at that point. So, and that's not nothing. I mean, if he gives you 6 games of CMC for free or nearly free, hey, that's you might be 5-1 instead of 3-3 right there. So
we'll take that. All right,
this next guy, people are going to be the record's about to skip on the podcast when you drop this name. So explain yourself here, sir.
Yeah, so the next guy I'm going to talk about scored 18.4 fantasy points per game, 4-point passing touchdown when he was in as a starter, and that's Justin Fields. So it's not somebody who, yeah. So I'm real quick. I'm curious. You did a super flex draft. Was it yesterday or
2 days ago? Yeah.
Was Justin Fields drafted?
Don't quote me. I don't believe so, but he might have been. I kind of lost focus at the end there, but he might have been.
Yeah, looking at your running backs. So Justin Fields, I mean, is a guy who I think can be a league winner in a super flex if he becomes a starter. Russ right now is a starter. It's going to take multiple games, I would imagine, for him to lose it if he loses the job. But he was a quarterback 3 for the first 5 weeks of the season last year. He got hurt. He came back. From week 11 to the end of the fantasy season, he was the quarterback 11 with 19.8 fantasy points per game. So, like, he is somebody who will certainly do well on your team as a quarterback. Again, another one where you want to close your eyes and you plug in Deshaun Watson and you plug in Justin Fields and just let them. You look at the score at the end and you're like, oh yes, nice.
If you
that's all you gotta do.
If you can somehow set it up so that like you have a post note or something over your phone. The part of your phone where your league chat is in your whatever your fantasy app is, so that you don't have to hear about it when you're starting Justin Fields. That's the ideal setup.
Yeah,
if you can just mute that whole, because you're gonna hear it. But no, I mean you're right. Kind of like, I mean, even more so than with Watson, because Watson, sure, best case scenario, he could be tolerable in fantasy. He could be awful though. Fields, if he gets on the field, regardless of what actually happens in the game, it should be points. So no, I like that. I like that one a lot. We can. I see the next name. We can skip Ben Sinnott for now. I think. Yeah, never mind. Erase on that one.
Yeah, it could be the second pass catcher for Jaden Daniels. Probably not. He's kind of buried on the depth chart. It's gonna be Zach Ertz for a little while. And who did they name his tight end to? Do they still have Logan Thomas?
I think the tight end 2 there is Vernon Davis, actually.
Vernon Davis.
He did finish up with Washington.
So Ben Sinnott is crying, much like Vernon Davis, at seeing that he's listed as a tight end 3. Michael Wilson, do you have any read on him or any interest in him as a gem?
You know, he's a guy where I am interested, and it won't surprise me at all if he pops for like 70 receptions. You know, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. and McBride are fantastic players.
Yeah.
But they're 2 guys. Like there's gonna be room for another guy to at least be fringe fantasy relevant. Michael Wilson's a good player. He can't stay on the field to save his life, but he's a good player. If he were to randomly luck into a run of good health here, I could totally see it for sure.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold on him with the Zay Jones, coming over to the team and then him being suspended for the first 5 games. Michael Wilson is going to be the one that's on the field. I know Greg Dortch has got a lot of hype from the Twitter guys and everything like that. But again, I'm shooting my shot with a lot of the other guys we've already talked about at wide receiver, and even the next wide receiver we'll be talking about, Quentin Johnston. Yes, I'm shooting my shot with Quentin Johnston. If you've made it this far into the podcast, you may already know that I'm a bit of a Johnston fan, but I'm not pounding the table for him. These are guys who, if it comes out and
like tapping,
I'm tapping the table. I'm saying, hey, hello, listen, what is that a noise? That's Quentin Johnston.
Who's doing that?
Yeah. That? So I just this is the kind of stat that I just wanted to run out to you. Is Justin Herbert a good quarterback?
Yes, he is.
Okay. He passed for 4,300 yards his rookie season, 5,000 the season after that, and 4,700 in the season after that. Those were the 3 seasons that he was healthy. Is he going to pass for over 4,000 yards this season, assuming he is healthy for all 17 games?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be very close. I think he will pass for as much as Harbaugh needs him to, and not 1 yard more.
Okay.
But
Okay.
4,000 is possible. 4,200 is not. That's about where I'm at.
4,200 is not. Okay.
Yeah, that's off the table.
Well, let me tell you this. If he does get to 4,000 yards
Mm-hmm.
or anything over that, all the quarterbacks who threw for over 4,000 yards just last season had a wide receiver 27 or better on their team. Rashee Rice was the worst of those quarterbacks. So I mean, I think the Mahomes part is a good example. Like, they didn't throw the ball a lot. They wanted to run the ball. They played good defense, and Mahomes had a down year. I think he threw for like 4,200 yards.
Yep.
And I mean, that's all he needed to get Rashee Rice, who started slow, to a wide receiver 27 finish. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of, and it's not necessarily that this is a Quentin Johnston take. This could be a Ladd McConkey take. This could be a
Right.
Joshua Palmer take. Somebody is going to catch the ball there.
Yeah.
I think that, we might be overemphasizing Greg Roman coming over and they wanting to run the ball, because yes, they've made some plays, but it's like they brought in some guys who can run the ball, but haven't been healthy to run it. And they've got a great quarterback there too. So
True.
I think it's going to be a little bit of a mix up there. I don't think 5,000 yards is in the repertoire for Justin Herbert, given the pass catchers he has and the scheme that they want to run. But if he throws for 4,000, like I said, he should have a quality wide receiver. Who it's going to be, you get to pick your poison.
Back when Harbaugh was in San Francisco with Greg Roman, which was a long time ago, different quarterback. It's not strictly a 1-to-1 relevancy case here. But he did have a receiver that was fantasy relevant pretty much at all times. It was only one, typically. But Michael Crabtree actually had his best years with Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco after starting off his career very slowly the first couple years before Harbaugh's arrival. Crabtree was viewed as a bust. He absolutely was viewed as a guy that he's a lost cause. So Jim, just do whatever you want. You don't have to bother with this guy. Harbaugh turned his career around. He did. He flat out did. And then Anquan Bolden, late stage Anquan Bolden shows up, and he was excellent too. Chargers don't have an Anquan Bolden, so somebody's going to have to step up. There's a lot of guys who like McConkey. I am unsold. I'm unsold on Ladd McConkey. I mean, we're talking about a diminutive guy. Always some sort of nagging chronic thing. His back. He's had a lot of checkered medicals for sure. Never really was the guy at Georgia. Didn't need to be, but never was. DJ Chark is here to be fancy Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's it. He's going to run down the field, turn around and run back. That's what he's here to do, guys. Let's be real.
I've got him on one dynasty roster, and I'm like, man, I still have him. I've got hope somewhere, and I don't drop him, but nobody will absolutely trade for him whatsoever.
I mean, it's probably time to have a long, hard look in the mirror there, Colt. But yeah, Chark is there as a guy to make a defensive back, run with him. That's it. And then you're down to Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston pretty quick. So, yeah, those are the two guys that I'm interested in. It's probably Palmer for me at this point because, he can actually run routes. and that's good. But, Greg Roman, under no duress, this is not a guy that he is responsible for having in town, said, hey, don't worry, we've got a plan for Quentin Johnston. We have a package. We have a set of plays that we have in mind for him. Maybe that's 2 a game. Maybe it's nothing. But they're at least not saying, who is Quentin Johnston? Oh, right, yeah. Quentin Johnston. They're not saying that. So, yeah, it's possible.
Like Treylon Burks.
Don't be talking. Hey, let's keep it kosher.
Like lost and gone.
Let's keep it Christian here, Colt. I don't want nobody talking about my Treylon Burks.
I skipped over this one guy just because I wanted to hit on Johnston just real quick because we were talking about wide receivers. But Tyrone Tracy, Jr., Giants rookie running back they drafted. It seems that if you watch Hard Knocks at all, the Hard Knocks, I guess, off season, when they were talking about, they were going through, it was in the situation room, the war room, where they're like, oh, we need to get this Tyrone Tracy guy. They're very much a team. The Giants are a team that wants to play basically Moneyball with their team, because they were like, okay, well, we can sign Saquon Barkley, or we can get like 85% of his production if we get Singletary and we get this guy. Like, if we just kind of move things around, we can get that for much cheaper, is the way that they were basically putting it together. Now, do I think they got Saquon Barkley value with Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary? Absolutely not. But they're not paying them, whatever Barkley's getting paid, whether it's $30 million or something like that. They're not having to pay any of that. He's a much older prospect. He was a wide receiver and he turned running back. We've seen huge success for that in fantasy. Don't look up Lynn Bowden Jr. But, Tony Pollard, Antonio Gibson, David Johnson, and Devin Singletary has never been the rock carrier. Like, he's always been part of a committee. It's not a good offense that you're investing in. The offensive line, I think, he's got, beefed up just here a little bit. And, they're saying he's going to be ready to go for week 1. So if there's anything that preseason showed me and Hard Knocks showed me, I'm kind of sold on those two. And the college tape, that I think he's got more juice than Singletary and could take over the backfield sooner than later.
So Devin Singletary followed. I mean, he didn't follow him directly, but Singletary and Dable did have a relationship in Buffalo for sure, and that I believe that's part of why he's in town now. Short of injury, I don't see Tracy taking over the lion's share. It just doesn't scan. But Tracy, like you said, juice. Tracy's got the juice. Tracy is a gusher, man. He's got. It's a candy, guys. Relax if you're not familiar. I haven't had a gusher in a long time.
They're expensive now.
I bet. What isn't? Snickers.
Yeah,
$4.49.
It's like $10 for a 6-pack. Maybe that's just California pricing talking about.
That's don't get me started.
Yeah.
But I see Tyrone Tracy. I look at Tyrone Tracy. I see shades of Ty J. Spears, of like a really rocked up yet hyper athletic, kind of wide back. I mean, he's built. I mean, people joke about, I'm built different. Tyrone Tracy's built different. He's physically different than a lot of running backs that you're going to see in the NFL.
So is Spears.
Yeah, and so is Spears. So yeah, I like Tracy. The Giants have Joe Schoen as the general manager there. He was the general manager there last year when they took Eric Gray. So you look at the forest for the trees. Like, they let Saquon Barkley walk. They not only bring in Singletary, indicating that they thought that they did not have adequate running backs in house with just Eric Gray. They also draft Tracy. That's enough for me to say, like, okay, they're not real impressed with Eric Gray. So yeah, I don't think Gray's a real concern for Tracy, and he could catch. I mean, look at this receiver core. I mean, sure, Neighbors is Neighbors, but look everywhere else. He can catch 50 balls real easy. So yeah, I like Tracy for sure. For the price, you never know. It's a you never know pick, and maybe the Giants wind up cracking the top 24 offenses. That would be a huge overachievement for them, and then who knows what's possible.
Yeah,
right, I'm gonna rattle through some of these guys because now we're into guys that are more my type of guys, and you can just give kind of like a or if you want to interject a little commentary on any of them, feel free. So there's a lot of tight ends, fringe tight ends that I'm very partial to.
Say the name you got in the doc.
What's that?
Say that name that you got in the doc, the nickname there.
Don't worry, I almost forgot to say his real name. So the first one is Tyler Conklin, a.k.a. the Conk Daddy. Hey, I didn't come up with it. That's what they call him on the internet, folks. It's a whole thing. Tyler Conklin is good, okay? Regardless of what has happened around it. There's players in the NFL that are secretly good despite their bad luck. Tyler Conklin is one of them. He was perfectly serviceable in 2022 in his first year with the Jets despite terrible quarterback play. Same thing last year. He would already be like a fringe tight end one if he just had normal touchdown scoring luck, but he's been a Jet, so he didn't. So where the theory is, well, the Jets' luck has to change sometime, right?
Yeah.
Zach Ertz beat your boy Ben Sinnott as the tight end one there in DC. I think you said you had a joke a couple weeks ago that got me to chuckle. Zach Ertz could catch 7 balls in week 1. He could. It might be for 40 yards, but
it won't be. Not that. I'll take the under. You could have said 20. I'll take the under.
No respect for an Eagles Ring of Honor future inductee. You hate to see it. Ertz could catch some balls until he gets hurt or Ben Sinnott comes on or whatever happens. He's still not half bad. Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I like that one.
I really like Jonnu Smith. Now we're not joking around no more. I mean, I wasn't joking with Conk Daddy, but now it's serious because Jonnu Smith plays for the Dolphins. Ever heard of him? Jonnu Smith is another guy who, like, he was on really weird Tennessee offenses that were good, but they were weird because they're Arthur Smith. Then he gets trapped in purgatory with the Patriots for a couple years where Bill Belichick turns him into like a fullback special teams gunner hybrid. I don't even know what he was doing. I think he was doing some accounting mid-game for a couple seasons there. I mean, it was horrible. And then he goes to Atlanta, and it gets even worse, okay? So, no one has had more bad luck and paid more dues in fantasy football than Jonnu Smith in the last few years, and his ship has finally come in. They finally let him out of jail. He's in Miami. It could be a thing. He could be – I mean, the Dolphins are signaling, hey, we like Jonnu Smith. I believe that somebody in the Miami front office contacted the Falcons and got them to not let Jonnu Smith's contract run out naturally because he would have not been a free agent until March 15th and anybody would have been able to sign him. They got him to release him early when nobody else was expecting that to happen, and so the Dolphins could go ahead and talk to him, and they could bring him in on a 2-year, $10 million deal. That's not pretend money for the Dolphins when their salary cap situation a little tight. So they're doing kind of Taysom Hill-ish, rugby-ish stuff with Jonnu Smith out of the backfield, manufacturing touches for him. It's possible. It's possible that Jonnu Smith gives you a top 15 finish at tight end this year just because of the offense alone. Mm-hmm. And then Noah Fant, I mean, you're talking about like a discount Kyle Pitts type of size speed guy. He's not as big or as fast as Pitts, but he's freak big and freak fast for a tight end. And the Seahawks give him $21 million after he's been almost ghost in fantasy football for the last few years. As soon as Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb come in, presumably to run an air raid offense in Seattle, that gets my attention in a hurry. He's the tight end 27. There's a lot to like there. So I don't know if you feel strongly or for or against any of those guys. Here's your chance to interject before I keep going.
Yeah, out of those four, I like Tyler Conklin. As you mentioned, I think the thing with him, you need Aaron Rodgers to throw for like 35, 40 touchdowns. If he's still the old Aaron Rodgers, then he can have a Robert Tonyan type season where Robert Tonyan didn't have more than 2 touchdowns in an entire season, and then out of nowhere has 11. So Tyler Conklin could be that. You got Garrett Wilson, who has caught like 7 touchdowns in his 2 years in total. And then Mike Williams, he's healthy now, but how slow is he going to get back into it? So he could be the second receiving option there on the team. I like Conklin in that, especially if you're getting him way later in drafts. And then Jonnu Smith, you basically hit it on the head. Somebody called the GM, said, hey, we got Durham Smythe the tight end. They said, okay, let's get another one. And then Jonnu Smith, who's a freak athlete. There's always adding speed to the team. Waddle's kind of banged up right now. It could be that, Malik Washington is somebody who I think should be on radars, but that's very deep cut. But Jonnu Smith could be somebody who, gets some value from that if Waddle were to miss time. Zach Ertz, Noah Fant, they're a little deeper. That's why they're the tight ends 26 and 27, but sure. Made a compelling case for both those guys.
Give us actually your 2 deep guys here. We have a section that's just called super deep. Give us your 2 super deeps before I quickly rattle off my little shop of horrors here that's going to make you retch.
Yeah, so we talked about Javon Baker just briefly with the Patriots rookie wide receivers and the ambiguous wide receiver core that they have. Who is the guy? Javon Baker, he could be the guy. I have my chips in on Polk, but if it wasn't in on Polk, it would be on Baker. I think he's got a lot of juice and just kind of fell in the draft. Didn't really get a chance there because he's coming out of a different school, but Theo Johnson, the rookie tight end for the Giants, like he's not going to be out there blocking. He's going to be out there doing a little bit of his work. Again, another guy where I watched in Hard Knocks and they just were like, we need to get this guy. We really need to get this guy. And who is the wide receiver 2 for the Giants, or who's the second pass catching option for the Giants, right? Is it Wan'Dale Robinson?
Open casting call would be my answer.
Yeah, open casting call basically is what it is. So yeah. Theon Johnson has an option to, get first team reps, get some reps there with the first team. He just has to be out Daniel Bellinger, which he showed some flashes last year, and they wanted to use Darren Waller the year before that. Theo Johnson might be the guy who, I think it was 4th round draft capital is what he got. And they wanted to just use him that way. So yeah.
And not for nothing, 6'6", 253, scored like a 9.98 or 9.99 in the relative athletic score out of 10 guys. So literally one of the most athletic tight ends ever to be tested at the NFL scouting combine. It looks like he may not be able to catch a taxi in Manhattan at 3 p.m. on a weekday. Like that's a possibility here. But yeah, the seas have parted. Darren Waller's obviously gone. Daniel Bellinger, he missed the whole offseason program. It's Theo Johnson's job if he can play. So he's got a real shot here for sure. Javon Baker's weird. Something's weird here. I don't know what it is about this guy. He's a little bit weird. A lot of guys liked him a lot in pre-draft eval even before the Patriots took him. Something's weird with Javon Baker, and that's really the extent of my analysis at this point. Is like he's got a look in his eye that makes me uncomfortable. And maybe you like that.
You haven't seen success with a lot of UCF wide receivers. So
Brandon Marshall, hey, it's not unprecedented. Brandon Marshall had that dog, so Baker could. All right, quick rundown. I deliberately left these guys' names out so that I could kind of pull a Colt Williams on Colt Williams here. All right, so mystery running back number 1 is the presumed number 1 running back, provided that the 29-year-old running back who is second in the active touch leaders career among all players in the NFL currently.
Justice Hill?
Justice Hill. Yeah, very good. Very good. Justice Hill. So Justice Hill is a super deep cut right now, but kind of like one of the other Ravens that I'm going to get to here in a minute. John Harbaugh just gushed about this guy, totally unsolicited. Somebody was like, "Hey, John Harbaugh, what'd you have for lunch?" He was like, "Justice Hill is going to be one of the best players in the NFL this year." Like, whoa!
He said that about Bateman too.
Good. Please, spoilers. Cut it out. So
these
Justice
are super deep cuts. Let's shorten those fellas up.
Justice Hill has had a real problem with getting hurt at super inopportune times. Right when he had a chance to make a name for himself, he just keeps getting hurt. He probably will again. But if anything were to happen to Henry, Justice Hill would scream into fantasy relevance, and he is completely off the radar right now. I like him. Another one, again, a running back who is behind one of the top 5 active touch leaders in the NFL currently. The second-year running back on the depth chart is injured, and the head coach may be actively looking to hire someone to stop by and cut his brake lines. He might be Googling that right now. We're not sure. We're looking into it. And the starting running back, who is super high mileage, just listed his house on Zillow for sale. So the running back you didn't get this one. Jamal Williams. So lurking in the reeds to potentially benefit from musical chairs in the running backfield in New Orleans is Jamal Williams, who is still being paid a fair amount of money. He's getting $6 million this year. They might restructure it, but that's what's on the books right now. And yeah, sure, Taysom Hill is lurking. He might be the RB1. I mean, he really might. Like, Taysom Hill might be a top 8 tight end in fantasy this year, guys. I mean, I'm not even kidding. It's not a joke. Stop laughing. But let's just pretend. Let's pretend that this guy. Let's pretend it doesn't happen. And then all this other bad stuff does too. Jamal Williams, I mean, he was a scam RB1 just 2 years ago, guys. Like he could still be good enough to do the thing. So I like Jamal Williams in super deep leagues. Samaje Perine. I mean, Samaje Perine is good enough to significantly wound Isaiah Pacheco's ADP at the last second. I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact. So however good he is, he's that good. Okay. Can he? If anything were to happen to Pacheco, whatever, could he actually carry the mail? Probably not. I mean, he's sub replacement level as an actual runner, but in PPR leagues, I mean, you could be starting him every week. He could be the Jerick McKinnon here.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. He caught 50 balls last season, and he's in one of the best offenses in the NFL. So.
And went for 9 yards a catch when Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin, who has real speed, both went for less than 6 yards per catch. So Perine was still elite as a receiver last year. Hence the Chiefs jumping all over when the Broncos weirdly dumped him.
And
you're good.
He'll be playing Thursday.
What's that?
They already said he's going to be playing Thursday.
Oh, so yeah. Express lane. Yeah, I mean, they tried to make Pacheco a 3-down back, and they just were like, you know what? We're not comfortable with this. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. We're not trying to make friends. So Perine's the thing. My mystery running back number 3. Uh-oh.
It really is a mystery.
It's a mystery even to me now. We'll circle back on that one.
Okay.
But, okay, on to the receivers. Rashod Bateman. Don't even, you know what?
Nope.
I don't care. Wide receiver 78, he is free. Can you refute any of these points? First round draft pedigree. With the team that took him, with the general manager that took him. True.
Treylon Burks.
Stop it. High dominator rating in his last good year in college. I mean, he had 60 catches for like 20 touchdowns or something crazy.
He's been in the NFL longer than he's been in college now.
All right. Wide receiver 78, I would counter. We're talking fringe guys. John Harbaugh, 5 minutes after the Chiefs knocked them out in the AFC Championship game, was on the wire saying, Rashod Bateman, Rashod Bateman, Rashod Bateman. And he's never stopped. Why would he do that? And, oh, by the way, they gave him a 2-year extension out of the kindness of their hearts this spring. Why would they do that if they're not serious about this player? I'm not saying Rashod Bateman is definitely good. I'm saying the Baltimore Ravens still have a degree of faith in him. And the Baltimore Ravens were 6th in the NFL in total offense last year, folks. It was not courtesy of their passing, for sure. But this is still a good offense. You want players in good offenses. Rashod Bateman could still be good. When they have thrown him the ball, good things have always happened. He's been hurt a lot, but anyway. So Bateman I like. Another guy I really like, Jalen McMillan, wide receiver 81. He's coming, folks. Chris Godwin has got Jalen McMillan in his rearview mirror for sure. And that's why I'm out on Godwin strictly on the arrival of Jalen McMillan. I won't touch Godwin in redraft. Won't do it. He won't definitely kill Godwin, but Godwin already had enough dirt on him. I was like, okay. They love McMillan. McMillan is the future in Tampa Bay. That future could arrive in 2024. Roman Wilson, wide receiver 80 for Pittsburgh. It gets the unfortunate high ankle sprain, so he's going to be slow out of the gate for sure. He might not even play this in week 1. But look at who else do they have? Van Jefferson, Cordarrelle Patterson. All right, I got my mystery running back number 3.
Oh goodness.
And then I know you hate this because you are you're up to your eyeballs in Puka Nacua dynasty misdeeds. Jordan Whittington, wide receiver 94. If you agree with me at all that Sean McVay is a mad scientist, and you know it's true, I'm looking at you. You don't want it to be true. You hate that I'm right, but you it's like that GIF I sent you. You may not like it, but you have to accept it, Colts. You have to accept it. Jordan Whittington could catch 7 passes this weekend. That's not say he could catch 5 passes this weekend. That's real.
Lower.
I mean, he could catch. I mean, certainly the bet is 0. The bet is that he has that he.
But if he comes out with 5, I would be
2 snaps, and they're both on special teams. But it's the McVay factor. The McVay factor is real here. And hey, he didn't even have an ADP at all 2 weeks ago. His ADP now on Fantasy Pros 94. Okay, so there's people out there that agree. Okay, that when we're talking about a guy who didn't even have an ADP, that's called skyrocketing. So
it's a little. I think it's a little Puka biased, or people being like, "Oh, I want to get the next Puka," and he just happens to be on the same team.
Sure.
Okay, well, does that mean that Cooper Kupp, who's currently not injured, is going to lose a step? Does that mean that Puka Nacua, who's currently not injured and ready to go week 1, is not going to lose? Like, is he going to have another 1,400-yard season? I don't think so. He might have had the best season of his career, but he was a very, very good prospect coming out. He had the 2nd highest yards per route run of the entire 2023 class, only behind JSN. And then you have Jordan Whittington coming in. He had the 7th worst of the entire – that's including undrafted free agents. 7th worst of the entire class. Do you care about breakout age? Puka Nacua had a 20-year-old breakout age. When did Jordan Whittington break out? Oh, never. He never technically broke out.
Okay. Name one other receiver that Puka Nacua played with in college.
No one else. Yes, I know. I know Jordan Whittington had an elite competition. Texas had the 2nd most people drafted in this year's draft.
I don't care if Jordan Whittington was the only position he played in college football was place kicker. He is in Sean McVay's good graces right now, and he's a heck of an athlete. I mean, he was a 4-star recruit as a running back, had 300 yards rushing, and got offensive and defensive player of the game honors in his final high school state championship game in Texas. 5A football. Yeah. Okay, I mean,
you went deep.
This he's a real player. Don't act like he's not. Don't act like he's not. Like Sean McVay don't want no scrubs. Okay, I'm sorry. That's what it comes down to. Will it happen? Maybe not. Probably not. Could it happen? Absolutely. Who was the wide receiver 20 from week 12 on in half PPR scoring last year? You know?
I'm gonna say Robinson.
That's correct. Very good. I led you, and you followed perfectly. Demarcus Robinson, the Rams wide receiver 3. And yes, Robinson presumably is the wide receiver 3 right now. Can you say with a straight face that Demarcus Robinson might not be on a bus to Toledo tomorrow if McVay decides that Jordan Whittington is the guy?
Yeah, that's very true. He
all
lets the best players play.
You can't. This is not a team where you can assume much of anything right now, is how I feel about it. So anyway, my last guy, And yeah, now it's getting crazy. Cordarrelle Patterson as I don't even know what he's running as on the among the running backs. Look, again, we like Deshaun Watson and Justin Fields before him. We might not like it, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Arthur Smith is here, and he brought Cordarrelle Patterson with him to Pittsburgh. They paid him real money. Jamal Agnew, a Pro Bowl kick returner for the Jaguars a couple years ago, he's been out of the league for a while. The Steelers just had him in town literally yesterday, looking at him as a kick returner. Why would they be looking at him as a kick returner when they have Cordarrelle Patterson? Unless they already have decided, okay, we're going to do some weird stuff with Cordarrelle Patterson.
Arthur Smith.
It's the Arthur Smith factor. And it's horrible and vulgar, and it should be stopped by federal agents, should storm the Steelers facility and put a stop to it. But until that happens, there's a possibility that Cordarrelle Patterson is going to be a waiver wire pickup next Tuesday in 7 days. So I'm calling it out now on the off chance that it happens. Cordarrelle Patterson will probably be a game day inactive now because I said it. But anyway, okay, I got out all of my worst. So you got to understand, guys, we talk about fantasy football for a living, guys. So when we get a chance, when we afford ourselves a chance to talk about these obscure fringe lunatics, it's cathartic. I would say.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
And I joke about like people trying to find the next Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington not being it, but in all reality, we're just trying to look for people who have opportunity and try to get you ahead of the curve. That's all we're trying to do here.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we did that. We named off a ton of players. Feel free to go back and recap and see who
NFL players
there.
were spoken of tonight.
Yes, we might have talked about 100 players, but come back Thursday's episode. We got the starts of the week. Make sure you go to fantasyindex.com. Luke just put out a great article. You got NFC edition, kind of a last minute musings. You've got an AFC edition of it. It's a beast of an article. Some say if you look at the top of it, it says read time. About 20 minutes. So if you're a person who wants to read a little bit more like that and get all the in-depth details of each of the teams or just your team, scroll down, find them, and figure it out. I found the Patriots. I was like, oh, Luke, that's what you think about the Patriots, huh? Okay, well, I mean, it wasn't nice things to say, but see what he says about your team. Check it out. Again, fantasyindex.com.
All right, folks, we'll be back with you tomorrow night, but, barring
Thursday.
acts of God, to talk about some starts and sits for week 1. Going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
See you then.
Have a good night. All right, and this time.
This has been the Fantasy Index Podcast. For more great content, premium rankings, and cheat sheets, head over to fantasyindex.com.